Here we go. We're gonna do a demo of this today. All right, here's my official summary and take on shooting with something like this, which I've never used before. Now, of course, you always turn the overhead or the ambient lights off. You can always try and compensate if it's a place where there's a lot of sun or there's ambience you can't turn off like some offices have. You could always power this up a lot more and suddenly this should be more powerful than the ambient light. But right now, for camera's sake, I'm gonna keep it at the bottom. And then I just shot exposed for the bottom. A couple things. So it's flimsy to assemble, but this is, I think, probably one of the least expensive ones out there. I don't know the exact price, but I'll link it. So I think that, you know, if I were to set it up as either permanent thing or use it regularly, I would use painter's tape or gaffer's tape, white, and I would tape it so that it doesn't slip around on me as much. Like tape the pieces together once I have it assembled. Always make sure to close this when you're shooting this way so that some contaminant like a yellow light or blue light doesn't sneak in. It's not bad. I don't mind how the photos came out, except for the color looks a little bit off, so I'm gonna have to do a lot of color adjustment. But it's a pretty light from this angle on this fabric when it's styled like this, where there's a little bit of a shift between pieces, and I'm sure that'd be the case, but you can't do a huge stack in this small of a box because then your top piece would be right at the light and your bottom would be far. They would be too different of an exposure. But if you're not doing too many pieces, this is great. I mean, I think you could still do probably several more pieces. Or there's bigger options of this. But again, we're talking about the low budget one, so then if you opted for a nicer one, a lot of this will not be an issue for you. This is a good way to test it too. So another thing, I don't like the fabric that came with it as far as for shooting your fabric on or shooting a product on. It's way too textured and distracting. If you're going to use an app or have it retouched out so it's just pure white, then that's fine. But in that case, I don't really think you need to put white down. This is already more clean because it's less textured. So I prefer this surface. Now, no matter what, if you're shooting into it, you're going to see the seam at the back. So you either decide you like it or you get it out. In this case, product still has to be pretty narrow because you start to have your sides creep in, especially in the back corners. And then if you were to shoot, let's say you need to shoot on green because you're doing green screen or something else, then I'm sure this is all sufficient. It just hooks onto the little hooks in there, and you can tape it in too if you needed to support it more. I ran the cord through the corners, you can see, to get it out of the way. And this top light is a nice flattering light for this particular product, for fabric, for our needs here. And I'm wondering, actually I should do a test, if we could cheat it, and if you decided you want a side light, if you couldn't do something like that, you could put a piece of foam core cut to fit, or some smooth white paper, or whatever it is, and maybe do some side lighting. Actually, that looks quite cool. I'm gonna do a test shot for you. Okay, I turned it sideways. I did my original or semi-original styling, and I powered it up a bit because the brighter it goes, the cleaner white it is, so it already has a slightly more accurate color. But I also did brighter because I wanted to turn the exposure up for various reasons. F-stop, shutter speed. I'll turn it back down for the, oh, that's off. This is for the camera, the video now. But the side light, as I'll show on the screen, is actually perfectly nice. Your set got a lot smaller because this is cut out here. So depending on what it is, you probably want to lay something down. But there's another way to use it. And then of course, there's the way to use it where you shoot from above, which I did a cell phone shot just for speed, where I put the cell phone up here, and then I had to block the ambience creeping in because I was using a dead overhead light to light the set. But you will not be doing that because you will be smart and you will turn off your ambient light. So I put the camera here, and then I took a shot that way on this cell phone, and I think it looked nice, that light too. So I think that lighting wise, this is a really nice light. And meaning it's flattering for textiles. So it would be flattering for doing individuals that are small enough, or doing small stacks, or doing products, or, you know, I don't know about doing a mood board, but if you're doing tile, if you're shooting, you know, I think you can get some good stuff out of this with your cell phone or with the camera. Don't forget that you can also use other tools, like you can do bounce cards and reflect light in. So if you felt like in some of the shots, it maybe was a little bit too side and you want to bounce a little from the opposite, or a little too top and you want a little front to come in, especially if you're shooting velvets or something that sucks light. This velvet absorbs light. So don't forget you can use those tools. And honestly, I also think that you can be really crafty and you can put diffusion on this too. So if you feel like this, sometimes these little LEDs are kind of a hard light. Look at that fun box. Sometimes these LEDs are, I don't know how to describe it. For me, I would say the word harsh. It feels a little too, like I'm noticing the light and not the product. So you could throw diffusion on those. And it could be that, because they don't get hot, it could be, you know, tape up a piece of tissue paper. It could be hold a piece of paper. It could be a thin piece of linen if that's something you have around the office or the showroom or wherever. So it just, you know, whatever you think of, you could play around with diffusion. You could even color it. You could even hold, we have things called gels, which are clear but have color. That would be something you could put over. Anyway, there's a million things. If you want help, definitely let me know. I'm happy to give recommendations based on your specific goals. But I have to say, I've never touched one of these before. They're extremely affordable and common, and I actually think you can get decent shots. You're just gonna have to be careful about the color temperature, the color of your product. If color accuracy is important. For most people it is. For most people selling something, the color is important. I think you saw early on that I was troubleshooting. It's a little wobbly. The thing must have come unplugged at some point. I just plugged it back in. in, and it was just fine actually. And then the cord came with some tape holding it in place, but you can always supplement it. Again, I would structurally reinforce it, make sure the color is accurate with what you're shooting. If you have to adjust it in post, as we call, then adjust it as needed. They come in different sizes. I don't know how big they'll go, but you could always, if you have specific need for something big, if you want to shoot, you know, a 2-foot width of something, you could even rig something like this. But anyway, I actually did not expect to think it would do so well. Again, I need to adjust the color, and I would still err toward the studio setup over this one if it's just shooting product, because it's a little bit more fine-tuned. The color is more fine-tuned. The maneuverability, this is very small and flimsy. Again, I would tape all this down and everything, but it did much better than I expected, so I'm impressed. Let me know if you have any questions.